Black CEO denied first-class meal. Seconds later, she grounded the entire crew. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. You can take this and be quiet. Her tone sliced through the hush of first class like cold metal through silk. A tray landed in front of Ava Coleman, a paper napkin, a sandwich, a glass of water. Nothing else. No warmth, no courtesy. Just an order wrapped as service. Ava didn't move. She simply looked up. The flight attendant, tall, blonde, crisp uniform, didn't blink. Passengers nearby pretended to read, but everyone was listening. The hum of the engines filled the silence like background judgment. Ava's voice was low, steady. I didn't order that. The attendant smirked. It's all that's left for you. Somewhere behind her, a man in a navy suit chuckled. They always complain, he whispered to the woman beside him. She nodded, tight smile eyes on Ava, like they were watching a spectacle, not a person. Ava rested her hands on her lap. The light caught her gold bracelet, subtle, elegant. Her expression didn't flinch, but her stillness said more than anger ever could. It wasn't the first time she'd been served disrespect instead of a meal. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to Ava. The attendant leaned closer. Ma'am, I need you to lower your tone. Ava hadn't raised it. Not once. She looked at the tray again, the sandwich trembling slightly with the hum of the plane, then back at the woman holding authority like a weapon. This isn't about food, Ava said softly. The attendant blinked, confused. Excuse me, it's about how you think power looks. A few heads turned. A passenger 2 rows back lifted his phone, pretending to check a message. Camera already recording. The moment had weight now, invisible but heavy. Ava straightened her collar, slow and deliberate. Enjoy your flight, the attendant muttered, retreating. Ava watched her walk away, calm eyes tracking every step, not with fury but calculation, because the storm hadn't begun yet. It had just found its sky. The attendant walked away, heels clicking sharp against the cabin floor. Ava leaned back, eyes on the small screen in front of her, though she wasn't watching. She was calculating. She'd flown this airline for years, quietly, discreetly, under other names. But this flight wasn't coincidence. It was inspection. The man across the aisle adjusted his tie and muttered to his seatmate. She shouldn't even be up here. Ava heard it. Didn't react. Her stillness was a mirror. They saw what they wanted to see. Outside, clouds shifted like curtains. The sun caught her reflection in the window, composed, beautiful, unreadable. Beneath that calm was something surgical purpose. A flight attendant trainee, maybe mid-20s, paused near row 2. Her badge read Mia. She glanced at the tablet in her hand, frowned, then looked at Ava again. Her lips moved silently, VIP, but she said nothing. From the galley, the older attendant's voice carried, "She's in first class on a discount ticket. It happens." The words weren't shouted, but they traveled, cutting the air like static. Ava breathed once, long measured. A flicker of memory, Atlanta years ago. Hotel lobby. Same stare, same tone. Back then she walked out. Today she wouldn't. She turned her head slightly toward Mia. You look new, Ava said softly. Yes, ma'am, Mia replied, startled. Then remember, this silence protects the wrong side longer than you think. Mia froze, words caught between duty and truth. The supervisor appeared again, tray in hand. Is there a problem? Ava smiled faintly. Not yet. He blinked, confused, waiting for her to raise her voice. She didn't. She adjusted her seatbelt instead. Please enjoy your flight, he said, retreating, tone brittle. Ava opened her phone, not to scroll but to wait. On the screen, a single message sat drafted. Protocol blue. Confirm. Her thumb hovered. She didn't send it. Not yet. Across the aisle, whispers grew. She's making people uncomfortable. Why doesn't she just move? Some people don't understand boundaries. Ava looked out the window again. Below, the world stretched endless and bright, and for the first time that morning she smiled, because she knew what they didn't. The higher they flew, the harder truth would land. The seatbelt light blinked on soft amber against polished chrome. Ava lifted her cup, but the attendant appeared again before she could drink. We'll need to verify your ticket one more time, ma'am. Her tone carried that same sharp politeness that hides contempt. Ava set the cup down. You've already verified it. The woman crossed her arms. Well, sometimes these things get flagged. Flagged, Ava repeated. Because it doesn't match the profile we expected. Every syllable was deliberate, chosen like a knife. From the next row, the man in the navy suit whispered, "Here we go again." He wasn't trying to hide it anymore. Laughter followed quiet mien. Ava didn't blink. "Run it again," she said. The attendant hesitated, caught between arrogance and uncertainty. Behind her, Mia stood frozen, watching the digital manifest on her tablet. She saw Ava's name highlighted gold. She knew exactly what that meant, but fear chained her silence. The supervisor, Daniel, appeared, adjusting his tie like armor. "What seems to be the issue?" The older attendant spoke first. "She's occupying a premium seat under the wrong fare class." Daniel's jaw tightened. "We'll sort it." He leaned closer to Ava's row. "Ma'am, I'll need to see your boarding pass again." Ava handed it over without a word. He scanned it, frowned. "Strange. It says valid." The attendant interrupted. "Could be a system error, or bias," Ava said, calm as gravity. Daniel looked up. "Excuse me." She met his eyes. "You heard me." The air changed. That invisible charge again. No turbulence outside, just inside the humankind. A woman 2 rows back lifted her phone. "I'm recording this," she said quietly. Daniel straightened. "That won't be necessary." The woman replied, "Neither was this." Mia's hands shook slightly. She whispered to herself, "It's in gold, she's top tier." Then, louder than she meant to, "She's authorized." The words hung there, fragile but explosive. The older attendant spun toward her. Mia stepped back. But the damage was done. Ava turned slowly, her tone still level. "Finally, someone who checks before they judge." Daniel exhaled through his nose, face tight. "Mom, I don't appreciate accusations." "Then stop creating reasons for them," she answered. The cabin went utterly still. The hum of the engines, the whisper of air vents, everything else disappeared. Mia bit her lip, realizing what she'd just done. Daniel glared. "We'll discuss your conduct after landing." Ava looked at him. "No, you'll discuss yours." He didn't respond. She leaned back, unbothered. Somewhere in the back, a phone camera clicked again. Ava lifted her glass of water. "Do you feel it?" she said softly. Daniel frowned. "Feel what?" "The moment before truth takes the floor." Outside, clouds rolled past like silent witnesses. Inside, judgment was losing altitude fast. Daniel walked away, stiffly, boarding pass still in his hand, pretending control. But the cabin had already shifted. Everyone had seen the gold-highlighted name. Everyone had heard Mia say the word authorized. Ava sat perfectly still, eyes half closed, her reflection steady in the window. Silence isn't weakness, she thought. It's warning. The older attendant returned with forced sweetness. "Ma'am, let's just de-escalate, okay?" Ava opened her eyes slowly. Was I the one raising my voice? The attendant's smile cracked. "We're just following procedure." "Whose procedure?" "Company policy," Good Ava said. "Then we'll review it together soon." The woman blinked, uncertain. "I don't follow." "You will." From behind, the man in the navy suit muttered, "She's playing victim." Always the same story. A younger woman beside him whispered, "Maybe you should stop talking." He didn't. "No, it's ridiculous. Rules are rules." Ava turned her head, eyes calm but sharp enough to cut. "Tell me," she said softly, "which rule says respect is optional?" He froze. No answer. Just silence and the quiet shuffle of guilt. Mia stepped closer, voice low. "Miss Coleman, do you want me to call ground control?" Ava smiled faintly. "Not yet. Let them finish writing their own report first." The attendant crossed her arms tighter. "You can't threaten staff." Ava's tone didn't move. "I don't threaten, I document." That line hit harder than shouting ever could. Phones lifted again. Passengers watched openly now. Daniel reappeared, face flushed. "Put the phones away," someone replied. "Then treat her right." The thin layer of authority cracked like glass. Ava tapped her phone screen once, no sound, no call, just a screen lighting up with a message, protocol blue armed. Await command. She locked it and placed it face down. No drama, no announcement, only intent. Mia stood frozen, torn between training and conscience. Ava met her eyes again. "You did the right thing earlier." "I might get fired," Mia whispered. "Or promoted," Ava said. "Depends who signs your checks." That landed like thunder wrapped in calm. Daniel leaned in again, voice brittle. "Ma'am, if you can't comply—" "I am complying," she interrupted. With dignity. "Try it." The cabin wasn't an airplane anymore. It was a courtroom in the sky. Every breath felt measured, every glance recorded. Ava looked down at the tray, at the untouched sandwich that had started it all. She slid it aside. "Funny," she said quietly, "how fast service turns into judgment." The engines hummed steady and unbothered, but inside that sealed cabin reputations were starting to shake. The captain's voice broke through the tension, calm but cautious. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be experiencing light turbulence." But the turbulence had already begun, not in the sky, but in the room. Daniel stood near the galley, whispering to the senior attendant, "She's recording everything. We need to get ahead of this." The woman's voice trembled. "Do we call security on landing?" "Maybe sooner," he muttered. Ava could hear them, every word. That tone wasn't new. It was the same rhythm of fear that always follows guilt. She looked at Mia, who lingered by the beverage cart, eyes down. "Do you trust your uniform?" Ava asked softly. Mia blinked. "What? Because it's about to test you." Before the young attendant could answer, Daniel walked back up the aisle. He crouched slightly beside Ava's seat, pretending kindness. "Ma'am, this is all a misunderstanding. If you'll allow us to reseat you, we can make it right." Ava turned her head slowly. "Reseat me? Yes. We have an open spot in business," she interrupted with a whisper sharp enough to sting. "Downgrade the problem, not the cause." His jaw tightened. Passengers nearby exchanged looks. A man across the aisle muttered, "She's got a point." The captain's door opened. A uniformed officer security from the flight deck appeared, steady and neutral. "Is there a disturbance here?" he asked. Daniel gestured. "We're handling it." But the officer's eyes landed on Ava. "Ma'am, everything okay?" Ava nodded once. "Everything's being observed." The officer hesitated, sensing something larger than procedure. He stepped back quietly, closing the door behind him. Daniel leaned in again. "You could have avoided this." Ava tilted her head. "By eating silence with my sandwich." His lips pressed thin. "You're mocking us." "No," she said. "I'm teaching you tone." Her voice didn't rise, yet it carried crisp, deliberate, impossible to ignore. The air grew heavier. Even the hum of the plane seemed to wait. Mia whispered to the older attendant, "She's not ordinary." The woman snapped. "Then she can prove it." Ava heard that too. She reached for her phone, not to threaten but to finish what had started hours earlier. Her thumb hovered over the unsent message. Protocol blue. Confirm. She tapped send. In a downtown boardroom thousands of feet below, alerts began to ping. Compliance, ethics, legal. Every department whose name Daniel had just invoked now knew exactly where their problem was, cruising at 3,000 feet. Ava exhaled slowly. Outside, the clouds broke open, sunlight flooding her reflection. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. The sky was watching now. 10 seconds after Ava hit, send, her phone vibrated once. Silent, deliberate. The screen flashed. Protocol blue initiated. Ground command online. Mia saw it. Her breath caught. "Ma'am, what is that?" Ava didn't answer. She just locked the screen and folded her hands. "It's what happens," she said softly, "when silence ends." Daniel, still by the aisle, noticed the movement. "What are you doing?" he demanded. Ava looked up, unbothered. "Exactly what your company policy told me to." His brow furrowed. "Meaning, reporting unethical conduct mid-flight. Section 9, subsection D. Remember that training module you skipped?" The older attendant stiffened. "You're bluffing." Ava's tone dropped an octave, calm but cutting. "Then pray I am." A ripple of whispers rolled through first class. Phones were already pointed discreetly in her direction. No shouting, no chaos, just the unmistakable hum of history being captured. From the front cabin, a chime sounded. The cockpit door cracked open. "Daniel," the captain called out. "Corporate's requesting a status update, something about a code." Daniel froze. "A code!" The captain checked his tablet. "Protocol blue." "They're live on comms." Every color drained from Daniel's face. The older attendant whispered, "What does that even mean?" Ava answered for him. "It means the sky isn't yours anymore." Mia's hands trembled as she stepped forward. "I saw her name in gold," she said, voice small but sure. "She's on the board, isn't she?" Ava finally turned toward her. "You don't have to answer that, Mia," she said gently. "You already did the brave part," Daniel snapped. "Enough, everyone, back to your duties." But no one moved. The cabin wasn't under his command anymore. It belonged to something quieter, heavier, accountability. The captain's voice came through the intercom again, neutral but uneasy. "Attention crew, we are under live review from headquarters. All communications will be monitored until landing." Gasps rippled down the aisle. The man in the navy suit whispered. She wasn't lying. The woman beside him nodded, eyes wide. She's someone important. Ava sat taller, adjusting her blazer. You should always assume that, she murmured. Then louder so every row could hear. When you serve anyone, serve with respect first, policy later. The older attendant tried to speak, but no words came. Her throat worked, her voice cracked. I didn't mean, Ava cut her gently. You meant to be safe. But safety without integrity isn't service. It's cowardice. A low ding from Ava's phone interrupted the stillness. Another message, ground review confirmed. HR and legal monitoring cabin audio. Continue. She read it once, then placed the phone face down again. The power wasn't in showing it, it was in knowing it. Daniel stood frozen near the galley, eyes darting between crew and passengers. Every rulebook he'd memorized had suddenly turned to smoke. Who are you? He finally asked. Ava's reply was soft, precise. Someone you should have welcomed when she boarded. The engines roared outside, slicing through clouds. Inside, no one spoke. Even the passengers who'd mocked her earlier now sat still, not out of fear but reverence. Mia whispered to herself, she's changing everything. Ava looked out the window. The sunlight struck the glass, fracturing into quiet gold. It's not change, she said under her breath. It's correction. And high above the earth, 30,000 feet in the air, justice began its slow, perfect descent. For a long moment, no one spoke. Only the soft thrum of the engines filled the air, steady, relentless, like a pulse that refused to calm. Ava's phone buzzed once more. She didn't pick it up. She didn't have to. The crew could see the message glowing faintly on her screen. Corporate has joined live. Continue incident log. Daniel swallowed hard. Corporate? You mean? Ava's gaze lifted, patient and surgical. You're hearing them too, aren't you? The intercom chimed. The captain's voice again, lower now. Cabin crew, all interactions are being streamed to the Horizon Command network. They're requesting calm and compliance from everyone on board. You could hear hearts racing between the syllables. Mia's hands trembled as she tucked her hair behind her ear. The older attendant's jaw clenched, her confidence evaporated. Ava leaned forward slightly. Now let's begin the audit you insisted on. Daniel blinked. Audit? You questioned my right to be here, she said. Let's examine yours. Her tone was precise, quiet, surgical. You were Flight Supervisor Daniel Royce, correct? Yes, he stammered. And you completed Horizon's annual equity certification. I think so. You didn't. He froze. Ava's voice didn't rise, but the truth inside it filled the cabin like oxygen. I wrote that certification, Mr. Royce, the one you clicked through without reading. A murmur rolled through the passengers, a sound halfway between shock and satisfaction. Mia's eyes widened. The older attendant stepped back, visibly shaken. Ava continued, still calm. When I created Protocol Blue, it was to prevent exactly this misconduct at altitude. It's designed to measure every word, every order, every act of bias that occurs in flight. She let that sink in. It's not punitive. It's corrective. Daniel's voice cracked. You're saying you built this system? Ava met his stare. No, I built this company's conscience. The cabin fell utterly silent. A passenger 2 rows back whispered, she's the one from Forbes. Another murmured, Ava Coleman, Horizon's board chair. Phones started to rise again, but no one dared make a sound. Ava glanced toward Mia. Would you please hand me the crew manifest? Mia hesitated, then nodded. Her voice trembled. Yes, ma'am. The older attendant reached to stop her. Ava's eyes flicked to her hand. One look and it froze midair. Thank you, Ava said softly as Mia handed it over. She scanned the names, her finger pausing on the line labeled Royce D. She looked up. You filed 2 customer incident reports last quarter, both dismissed by internal review, both against women of color. Daniel opened his mouth, but no defense came. Ava closed the manifest gently as if it were a verdict. This isn't about anger, she said. It's about patterns. From the back, the man in the navy suit who'd mocked her earlier whispered, guess we all picked the wrong side. The woman beside him murmured, at least someone's cleaning the sky. Ava turned back to Daniel. When we land, you'll meet the people who trained you and the ones who failed you, but for now you'll take your seat. I'll be finishing the flight you tried to downgrade. Her words didn't echo. They resonated. Daniel stepped back, pale shaking, then sank into the nearest empty chair. Mia exhaled shakily like someone finally surfacing for air. Ava folded her hands again, the calm of a storm that knows it's already won. Outside, sunlight split the clouds in golden streaks, and the whole cabin glowed faintly, like a courtroom bathed in grace. High above, the world power didn't shout. It whispered, and the sky listened. The seatbelt sign flickered on again, a quiet ding echoing through the cabin. But this time, no one cared about turbulence. It wasn't the plane that was shaking. It was everything they thought they knew about hierarchy. Daniel sat 2 rows back, pale and hollow. Mia stood motionless near the galley, clutching her tablet like it was proof of life. The senior attendant, the same woman who'd dropped the sandwich, hovered near the curtain, trying to disappear into her uniform. Ava's phone buzzed once. She unlocked it without looking down. A single line from ground control appeared: Horizon Legal requests live acknowledgement of incident leadership. Ava exhaled softly. Understood, she said to no one in particular. Then louder, calm, steady, carrying the weight of command. This is Ava Coleman. Confirmed executive oversight of Flight 227. Gasps rippled like wind through tall grass. The captain's voice came back, respectful now. Confirmed, Miss Coleman. You're in full authority. Daniel lowered his head into his hands. Mia's eyes shimmered with something between awe and relief. Passengers straightened in their seats, instinctively adjusting posture like a courtroom rising when the judge enters. Ava looked toward the trembling attendant still standing by the curtain. "What's your name?" she asked. The woman hesitated. "Claire. Claire," Ava repeated softly. "You've been with the company how long?" "7 years," she whispered. Ava nodded. "Then you've seen both sides of service, respect and assumption. Which one flies faster?" Claire blinked back tears. "Respect, ma'am. Then remember that the next time you serve someone who doesn't look like your mirror." Claire's lips parted as if to apologize, but Ava lifted a hand gently. "Apologies don't change altitude," she said. "Behavior does." The man in the navy suit, the same one who'd mocked her earlier, shifted uncomfortably. He spoke up, voice low. "Miss Coleman, I owe you an apology." Ava turned toward him. "You owe yourself awareness. That's heavier than guilt." He nodded, eyes down. Outside the windows, the world was a river of clouds glowing white beneath the Sunday. Inside, every movement was measured reverent like a sanctuary mid-flight. The captain spoke again over the intercom. "Corporate command has requested that this cabin remain still until further notice. Miss Coleman, please advise if you require anything." Ava smiled faintly. "Just decency. It's lighter than air." The passengers chuckled softly, not mockery this time, but release. The tension began to shift into something else. Reflection, maybe even admiration. Mia approached timidly. "Ma'am, if I may, why didn't you stop it earlier?" Ava looked at her, voice like glass, clear, fragile, strong. "Because sometimes letting ignorance speak is the only way to prove it still exists." Mia swallowed, nodding. "You teaching us?" "I'm reminding you," Ava said. "That uniform doesn't make you small. Fear does." A voice crackled through Ava's phone, her assistant, calm and composed. "Coleman, all recordings are synchronized. The board is reviewing live. Would you like to initiate suspension notice mid-air?" Ava looked down the aisle. Daniel silent. Claire trembling, Mia waiting. Her tone softened. "Not yet. Let them sit with the altitude a little longer." Outside, the sky stretched endless, blinding white, pure, indifferent. Ava leaned back, eyes half closed. "You can't hide from sunlight at 30,000 feet, she whispered, and for the first time even the guilty agreed. The cabin had gone eerily quiet, the kind of quiet that happens after thunder, not before it. Every eye drifted toward Ava as if waiting for her next breath to decide what happened to everyone else on board. Daniel sat stiff, staring at the seat back in front of him, hands trembling over his knees. His uniform looked smaller now, too formal for a man who'd lost control. Claire leaned against the galley wall, pale, her lips pressed tight as if silence could rewind time. And Mia, she stood a little taller, shoulders squared, no longer hiding behind protocol. Ava unlocked her phone again. The screen glowed with a new message from her assistant Rachel. "HQ requests real-time verbal statement for record." Ava's thumb hovered over the mic icon, but she didn't press it yet. She turned her gaze toward the passengers, the unspoken jury in this airborne courtroom. Some looked ashamed. Some looked inspired. Every one of them was learning what it meant to witness consequence in real time. "Miss Coleman," the captain's voice came through softly over the intercom, "we're 20 minutes from descent. Ground control is awaiting your instruction." Ava answered calmly, "Maintain altitude until my clearance." The captain didn't hesitate. "Yes, ma'am." Her voice, steady and unshaken, now carried through the cabin a quiet authority that wrapped around steel and altitude alike. "You know what's interesting about flying?" she began, tone almost conversational. "Everyone thinks altitude makes them untouchable, but up here there's nowhere to hide. No one moved, no one dared interrupt. When people like me are mistreated in places like this, it's never about misunderstanding," she continued. "It's about assumption. About who belongs and who doesn't according to eyes that don't see past skin." Her words weren't sharp, they were scalpel clean. Each one cut only what was diseased. Claire swallowed hard. "I didn't mean—" Ava met her gaze firm but not cruel. "You meant to be comfortable. Comfort is the birthplace of bias." A hush rolled down the aisle. Even the engines seemed to hum quieter. Mia took a small step forward. "Ma'am, I learned more in these 2 hours than in all my training." Ava gave a small nod. "Then make sure it costs you something. Change always does." She tapped her phone, finally pressing the mic. "This is Ava Coleman, Executive Director, Horizon Airlines. Incident report confirmed. Misconduct documented, corrective process engaged. All parties under review will remain suspended pending further audit." Her voice was crisp, calm, absolute. The phone clicked. Message sent. A quiet chime sounded in Daniel's pocket. He pulled out his device and stared at the screen. Access revoked, temporary suspension. His lips parted a soundless exhale. Claire's device vibrated next. The same notification. She looked at Ava, tears trembling in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Ava's tone stayed level. "Then do better for the next passenger. That's how you apologize." Rachel's voice returned through Ava's phone speaker, soft but firm. "Protocol confirmed, Miss Coleman. HQ thanks you for your composure. Legal requests your arrival in New York for board review." Ava nodded. "Understood. Make sure Mia Ruiz is noted for professional integrity." Mia gasped. Madam Ava smiled faintly. "Don't thank me. You earned it." Daniel finally spoke, voice hoarse. "You didn't have to do this mid-air." Ava turned her gaze on him. Cool, precise. "Correction doesn't wait for landing." She placed her phone down again, folded her hands, and looked out the window. The clouds had parted now, revealing the slow curve of the earth below, gold and endless. At 30,000 feet, justice wasn't loud. It was quiet, unforgiving, and utterly clear. The clouds thinned to a pale gold mist as the plane began its gradual descent, but inside the cabin no one dared to move. It wasn't fear anymore. It was reverence. Ava sat, composed, fingers, interlaced, eyes fixed on the horizon beyond the window. Her reflection hovered against the glass like a second self, calm, deliberate, untouchable. Even the air seemed to move around her, not through her. The captain's voice returned, steadier, this time respectful. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin our approach into New York shortly. Please remain seated. Miss Coleman Corporate thanks you for your oversight." The last line carried something more than protocol gratitude, maybe even apology. Mia stood quietly near the aisle, tablet clutched to her chest. She looked at Ava as if memorizing a masterclass in grace under fire. When Ava's gaze met hers, Mia mouthed the words, "Thank you." Ava gave a single nod. "Remember this," she said softly. "Power isn't loud. It's precise." Daniel remained in his seat badge, still blinking red from his revoked access. He looked out the window, pale and hollow, a man seeing the ground approach faster than his pride could recover. Claire sat beside him, eyes wet, lips trembling around the words she didn't know how to say. Ava spoke suddenly, not to them but to the air itself. "Every system I built was meant to protect dignity, not destroy people. But when people forget, dignity systems have to remind them." The passengers listened, silent, transfixed. A man in business class whispered to his companion. She didn't raise her voice once. The companion replied, "She didn't need to." The truth did. The flight attendant from the other section peeked through the curtain, wide-eyed, whispering to Mia, "Is it true she owns Horizon?" Mia smiled faintly. "No, she is Horizon." Ava caught the exchange, and a small breath of amusement softened her face. Not a smile, something quieter, purer. Vindication without vanity. Outside, the city lights of New York shimmered through thin layers of cloud like constellations waiting to receive her. The captain's voice came again, "Prepare for landing." Ava fastened her seatbelt. The metallic click echoed louder than it should have. The hum of descent filled the cabin, steady, rhythmic, inevitable. She whispered to herself, "Justice doesn't fall. It lands." And as the aircraft tilted toward the glittering skyline, every soul on board felt the same truth take shape. That altitude had never been the measure of class, and silence, when wielded by the right hands, could shake heavens themselves. The wheels touched the runway with a deep, steady roar, a sound that felt more like closure than arrival. Gasps rippled down the aisle as gravity reclaimed the cabin, but dignity had already landed first. Ava unbuckled her seatbelt, motion slow, deliberate. Mia watched from the jump seat, holding her breath. Daniel sat frozen 2 rows away, staring at his darkened badge, as if it could still light back up. It didn't. Claire dabbed her eyes with the corner of a napkin. Her hands shook when she reached for her intercom earpiece. "Cabin secure," she murmured, voice trembling. Ava heard it and turned her head slightly. "Not yet," she said. "Not until accountability is secured too." The intercom chimed. The captain again toned, now stripped of distance. "Miss, Coleman ground compliance and corporate officers are waiting at gate 14 for debrief. They've requested your authority on immediate personnel review." Ava's reply was steady. "Acknowledged." Then she added, quieter but clear enough for the entire section to hear, "Escort Daniel Royce, Claire Matthews, and the current flight crew to the compliance lounge. Their access remains suspended until further notice." Daniel's head jerked up. "You can't." Ava didn't even look at him. "I already did." The words landed harder than turbulence. Passengers turned, some recording, some nodding silently. For once, no one called it overreaction. Mia stood as the plane taxied. "Ma'am, will you need me to go too?" Ava glanced at her with the faintest softness. You'll come with me." Her voice carried a warmth that filled the cold space protocol had left behind. As the aircraft slowed to a stop, sunlight poured through the oval windows, casting gold across Ava's face, half light, half judgment. She rose, collected her phone, and turned to the passengers. "Thank you for your patience," she said. Her tone was composed, almost serene. This flight was supposed to teach a lesson in altitude. Instead, it taught one in humility. A hush fell. Even those who doubted her felt the weight of what she said. Ava stepped into the aisle, her posture steady, each step deliberate. Not a march, not a victory strut. Something cleaner, closure. At the door, she paused, looked back at the trembling crew, and said her final words to them before disembarking. "I don't fire people for mistakes. I fire people for making them twice." Then she turned, nodded once to Mia, and walked toward the open door. The sunlight outside hit her like applause. No camera could capture the quiet in that moment. The look on every face, the air thick with reflection, and the certainty that for once justice hadn't waited for landing to begin. Outside, the air was bright and heavy, that particular stillness airports have when something important has just ended. Ava stepped down the jet bridge, first her heels clicking against the metal floor like punctuation marks to the story behind her. Mia followed a half step behind, still trying to understand what she had just witnessed, or maybe what she had just become a part of. At the gate, a small group waited. 2 executives from Horizon, a compliance officer, and the head of operations, faces pale, postures tense. They didn't need introductions, everyone already knew who she was. "Miss Coleman," the older executive began, voice tight. "We received full footage from the cabin. Legal's already processing statements." Ava nodded. "Good. Then process this too. The only thing more dangerous than bias is pretending it's not policy." The man swallowed hard. "Understood." Ava turned slightly, gesturing toward Mia. "This one," she said, "chose courage over comfort. File her under promotion consideration, and make sure her next uniform comes with authority." Mia blinked, startled. "Ma'am," Ava placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't thank me," she said. "Earn it every day." Behind them, Daniel and Claire were escorted out by ground officers. No cuffs, no shouting, just consequence walking itself to the gate. Passengers watched through the glass, whispering, filming, not out of cruelty but witness. One of the executives asked quietly, "Do you wish to press charges, miss?" Coleman Ava shook her head. "No, just accountability. The internet will handle the rest." That made the team exchange nervous glances. They knew she was right. Footage was already spreading. The world had seen what respect looks like in silence, and what power looks like when it refuses to scream. Ava turned toward the window. A Horizon jet idled in the distance, sunlight gleaming across its logo. Her logo. She spoke without turning. "Do you know why I built this airline?" No one answered. She smiled faintly. "Because flying taught me something simple. You can't control the wind, only the wings." The room stayed still, reverent. Ava gathered her coat, phone in hand, already walking toward the VIP corridor. Mia called out softly, "Ma'am." Ava paused. Mia's eyes shone. You made them see. Ava turned slightly, her silhouette framed in sunlight. No, she said. I made them listen. She started walking again, her voice drifting behind her, measured calm like a closing argument written on air. Respect isn't served on a tray. It's earned one decision at a time. As she disappeared down the jet bridge, the camera of the moment lingered on the quiet faces, the still plane, and the certainty that somewhere between sky and ground a black woman had just rewritten what leadership looks like.